So I left my buddy's house, and about 5 miles or so from his house, there's a Smallin Civil War Cave. And I might just take a little trip on it. That's fantastic caverns there. And this is a Smallin Civil War Cave here. Let's see how much it costs to get in. Been to Bridal Cave. That's up in the Ozark, Lake of the Ozarks area. Haven't been to Merrimack Caverns. Haven't been to Marble Cave in Branson. Talking Rocks looks pretty cool. But let's see what it costs to get in and when the next tour is. They haven't ever been here.
Between here, you'll see it. There's a little roof and a little TV station. Real cool to set in the woods this time of year. But anyway, Smallin Civil War Cave. Civil War is our middle name. Kind of important to know what the cave had to do with the area during the Civil War. And if you want to cover the Civil War history of Missouri and do a 1-hour guided cave tour, you can't do that. So we put a video together. And what it does, it kind of gives you an idea of what the area had to do with the area during the Civil War. This cave was not a battlefield. But there's not a square inch in the Ozarks that wasn't affected by the Civil War. Everybody and everything suffered through that. Y'all heard the border wars of Kansas. We'd been at war long before the Civil War ever started out here. Matter of fact, that was kind of the catalyst for the war to break out. We had a bunch of people back east that, well, let's just say we blamed it on them just because they brought it all here. And anyway, it is started with the Revolutionary War. You heard about that one. The Ozarks got populated with people who didn't like the English. After the Revolutionary War, they came out here. I'm a direct descendant of one of them. Did you ever hear of a guy named Daniel Boone? I'm not a direct descendant of him. His brother, Squire, that's the direct line. But anyway, the Ozarks was always populated with folks that weren't satisfied with things going on back east. People just come out here. We always just kind of left them alone after that. But anyway, you're going to hear a little about the Civil War, and then after this video, we'll move on to the general history and a video that's got the rules and guidelines. When this one's over, I'll start the other one. After that, we'll get you the cave. All right, y'all enjoy.
Becoming the 24th state on August 10, 1821, Missouri was the third most fought-over state in the Union during the Civil War. It was the scene of some of the bloodiest guerrilla warfare that our nation ever saw. Early on, Missouri's governor, Claiborne Fox Jackson, understood that there was a cultural divide, a sharp and growing division within the population of his state. In 1861, a majority of the established rural population in Missouri had migrated here from the Appalachians and the southern states. These landowners had strong family ties and sympathy for the South. A growing number of German immigrants who wholeheartedly supported the Union were migrating into the state at about that same time. When Lincoln called up 4 units from Missouri to support the Union war effort, Governor Jackson knew that in order to maintain a fragile, delicate peace within his state, he had to refuse the order and declare his state neutral. On May 10, 1861, that fragile peace was shattered when Union forces marched into St. Louis and captured the Missouri State Guard and the state munitions arsenal at Camp Jackson. As the Union troops marched down the street that day with the captured State Guard troops in tow, shots were fired into the crowd that had formed, and 28 citizens died in the streets of St. Louis that day. As a result, Governor Jackson and the Confederate-leaning lawmakers fled from Jefferson City. Setting up a temporary capital in Neosho, Missouri, Jackson and the legislators signed secession documents. Eventually, Jackson went to Texas and set up the capital there. In Jefferson City, the remaining Union legislators installed a new Union-sympathetic governor. From that point until the end of the war, Missouri had two governments and a star on both flags, the Confederate and the Union. Locally, southwestern Missouri was a hotbed of activity. To fill you in on our local history and the connection to Smallin Cave, here is our own Lieutenant John.
Lieutenant John here, representing Company H of the 14th Missouri State Militia. By 1862, Springfield was in Union control, but the city had changed hands 5 times in the previous 8 months. Springfield was chosen to be a major supply depot, complete with 4 forts. Now, Union General Egbert Benson Brown decided that other forts needed to be built around Springfield, and one of those camps was right over the hill in the village of Ozark, just a couple miles south of Smallin Cave. Now, General Brown ordered Company H to build the fort on Sugarloaf Hill. It was completed in September of 1862, and Camp Brown was built on 2 acres with a 2-story blockhouse. The soldiers and their horses were housed here, and a 6-foot-tall double log wall surrounded the fort. Now, once the fort was completed, the soldiers guarded the road to Springfield from the south, and they also used the fort as a base to hunt down and eliminate bushwhackers and rebels. The Battle of Ozark occurred at the camp on August 1st, 1862. The fort at Camp Brown was burned to the ground on January 6, 1863, by Confederate Colonel Joseph Shelby as he marched through Ozark on his way to the Second Battle of Springfield. Now, we're convinced that at least some of the soldiers from our camp were in the cave, and here is why. See, it's a very fresh source of drinking water in the cave. See, the Finley River near the camp can get very dirty and muddy, especially during high water. But cave water stays clean and fresh year-round. The camp was built during the spring and summer months, and I guarantee you the soldiers were looking for a place with natural air conditioning. It's always 60 degrees in the back of the cave. The cave would have been a great place to hide supplies from prying rebel eyes. See, there's only one accessible entrance to the cave, so it would have been easily defended. And we also found this, a 69 caliber mini ball that could have been dropped by one of those soldiers at Camp Brown. The cave is rumored to have been a place where a spy would sit at the entrance and lure locals in with food or drink, gathering information. Then it was just a short horse ride to the camp to get his reward for the information. The best evidence is literally written in stone inside the cave. There's a large flowstone formation that has hundreds of signatures on it, and one of those names is William McCoy, who just so happens to be a sergeant in the 14th Missouri State Militia at Camp Brown. And near McCoy's name is a large letter H, likely carved by the soldiers to represent the 14th Missouri Company H.
Now this next video's got the general history, and at the end you can sleep through the first part if you need to, but the second part's got the rules and guidelines. You gotta wake up for that. That'll be Lieutenant John this time. Again, but anyway, you don't have to listen to him right off the bat. When this one's over, Miss Heidi will grab you and take you to the cave.
Welcome to Smallin Civil War Cave. My name's Juanita. My husband Kevin and I have the pleasure of owning and caring for this beautiful natural treasure. During the winter of 1818-1819, explorer Henry Rose Schoolcraft kept a journal of his 900-mile journey through the Ozarks. That journal became the first published account of the Ozarks and gives us an eyewitness view of this region when the Osage people were still here.
This is Heidi.
Hello. Are these all your...
So this one time I can go past you.
Dang, really?
I can't stay behind you now.
Okay.
We're breaking the rules already, folks.
All right. If you'd all like to follow me down this way, we've got a few stops to make
No,
along
you
the
go
way
ahead.
I'll be at the back.
until we get to our cave. And before we get too far, I am curious how old these four are. Right.
I'm 27 and holding.
9. And how old did you say you were? Alright. So if you'd like to stop the rest up. Alright, now if you'd like to take a look up toward the gift shop, you'll see a very strange shaped tree. Kind of looks like a backwards 4. Now that is an Osage marker tree. Now these were bent over all over the place by the Osage, typically along a trail, and it would point them in the right direction, usually towards the nearest water source or the nearest shelter. Now this tree is pointing due east, over that way, and unfortunately our nearest water and shelter is the cave. Yup, which is that way. So we had to figure out where this tree could be pointing us to. So we looked in that direction and we found a few different things. There's an old settlement in that direction that is now called Linden, Missouri. There's also an old buffalo trail that's now part of Highway 60. And there's also the chance that this is a reminder tree. The Osage would see the sun rising in the east, which is the same direction that tree faces, and it would help them remember to pray and ask for guidance for their day at the start. So unfortunately, we don't know which of those 3 options it is, so it's up to all of you. You can let your imaginations run wild and try to think of what it's for. But
Could it also be over in England, for example, during the war, they took down street signs to distract the Germans?
oh,
And could it also be a distraction to face people who don't live in this area to go the other way?
it could be. I have heard people mention that idea before. We won't count anything out, but usually only the Osage knew what this specific thing was for. But you never know. It could be. But I do have a question again for you four. What kind of? You see the little girl sitting in that tree? Now you said you're 9 and you're also 9. So she's a year younger than both of you. She's 8 when that picture was taken, but she came out to this cave all the time with her family. They would have picnics after church on Sundays in the cave. And this was a very fun day for everyone. It was a great time to relax and spend time with other people. But one Sunday when Harriet was 8 years old, she was a little bit too excited and she skinned her knee really bad. And you can see that dark spot on her knee. That's how bad she scraped it. It was rough. So she burst into tears, and no matter what her dad did to get her to stop crying, it wouldn't work until he got the idea to pick her up, put her in that tree, and he told her to smile for a picture. Now, nowadays, most kids would start crying if you try to take a picture of them, but Harriet had never had her picture taken before, so this was a really big deal. She was really excited, forgot all about that skinned up knee, and we got this really cute photo. But the story doesn't end there. Now, Harriet was all grown up and was at church one day and sat down next to Kevin Bright, who you all met up in the gift shop. And she pulled out a picture of a copy of that original photo and gave it to him so he could have it here at the cave. And of course, he knew not to let the story end there. So we brought her back to the cave, put her back in that tree, and we got her picture again 68 years after the original. And you can see her right down there. But we're going to keep going down this way. And hopefully none of you fall and scrape your knee. Alright, have you four all been to a cave before? Yeah. Oh, you haven't? Oh, okay. That's okay. I don't remember it often. Alright, now, are you four at all scared of bats? No? Good, okay. Because there are a few bats in the cave today, so if you are scared, don't be, they're fine. They're just taking a little nap. I think there are four that you'll be able to see pretty well, so that's really exciting. And two of them are tripod bats, and we'll talk about what that is. Alright, now as you start to see the entrance of the cave, please don't freak out. I promise we did not rip you off. This is not Smallin Cave. This is a little bonus cave that we threw in to feel for you. It is called Fieldin, and it was named for the Fieldin family. Now they lived in a cabin out in the woods, and this was their family's refrigerator. They would have a spring box that they built, and they'd set all their food in that box in the stream. The water would stay 54 degrees year-round, rushes over and around it, keeping your food nice and cold. And as we enter this cave, please watch your step, and you're probably going to get dripped on a little bit. Now, if you take a look right here, you'll see a replica of what that spring box would have looked like. There was a family that raised their kids in this cave, and they were the Stacy family. Now, William was a full-blood Irishman, and he learned a ton about the different plants that you can find out here and their uses. His mom grew up as a medicine woman in her tribe, so she, of course, poured all of this information into her kids, and Silas especially took to it really well. During the Civil War, he was able to make a tea to help soldiers recover from dysentery, and the Union picked up on this and put them in different places, made him a medic, so that he could help people recover and have a tea lesson in the war. But it is cool. And if you look right up here, was not expecting that.
Buzzards.
That, I believe, is,
Turkey vulture.
that's it. I knew turkey something. Well, goodbye, friend. What?
I think they have a nest in there.
Out of his back. Maybe it's anyway, if you look where that turkey vulture just flew out of, that is our third little baby cave on this property. It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't do anything. It's just kind of there. It's a hole. But it is big enough that it counts as a cave as per the state of Missouri. So we call it the Disappointment Cave. Now, if you take a look right over here, you will see Smallin Cave's entrance. It is 100 feet across and 50 feet tall. It is the largest commercial cave entrance in the state of Missouri. And we're going to go inside. Are any of you scared of spiders? Yeah? Okay. Now, I was terrified of spiders when I was a kid, and I thought these were like the worst spiders ever. But they're actually so cute and friendly, and this one's a baby. Now, this is a jumping spider, and they'll jump around on your hand as long as it's cool. You know, it's hard to get on, it's hard to get on. Oh, I'm sorry, buddy. I know you love me.
Say you were from Donovan?
No, we're from Oxford, Mississippi.
Oh, okay. I thought I heard you say
But
Donovan.
that is an example. There are some spiders that are actually really nice, really cute. A lot of people will keep them as pets, and they'll teach them how to do backflips, which are I don't know how they do that, but Alright, if you look on that side of the cave where that brick pile is, that is where a lot of families would have their picnics after church on Sundays. You'd see a colorful quilt of picnic blankets spread out, and most commonly they would be fried chicken, biscuits, and pumpkin butter. I know, it's actually really good. What? Well, because that's how this cave formed. It's all from water. So it's actually kind of good that it's everybody, because that means it's alive. Yeah, I think it's kind of good. Alright. Now if you'd like to take a look right up here, if you can try, it's kind of hard to see it, but there is a crack in the wall right up here where the ceiling meets the wall, and we call that the bedding plane. So this is actually what caused the cave to form in the first place. This crack formed through the earth, and water started to seep in through that, and it eroded the limestone away, creating a small passage. As more water flowed through that, it eroded a larger passage, which kept growing until we have the cave that we have today. You can also see some of the history of how it formed just by looking at the ceiling. The cave started forming from the top at that bedding plane down, and it continues to wash out a little bit every time. But it is very small growth. Now that bedding plane also causes a lot of our formations in this cave. Namely, these wall formations right here. This is all made out of calcite. This one is especially beautiful. People call this one the shower head because you can stand right down there and take a pretty decent shower. But please don't. It's just an expression. You can see that bedding plane a little bit better right through here as well. And when we get into the back of the cave, where it's a little bit smaller, you'll be able to see right into that bedding plane. Very clear, very obvious. So remember that for later. And then smile at me really big because I'm taking your picture and then I'm going to try to sell it to you in the show.
There we go again, breaking the rules.
Alright. And nice big smiles. Perfect. And if you'll all head right over to that side, it is now your turn. Wait, did you two not come together? Yeah, we work together. Oh, okay. Sometimes I'll put people with the wrong version. Alright, nice big smiles. Perfect. You can join in over here. And
Good. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Alright, now if you'll all head back down here, we're going to talk about that giant rock that you just had your picture taken in front of. Now this is a flowstone. It is the largest one in this cave and probably one of the largest you're going to see in this area. It is absolutely massive and also a really cool piece of history. People have been carving different things all over this rock for hundreds of years, and we've been able to decipher a few of them and figure out who was here and when. Now, if you watched that Civil War history video up in the gift shop, you'll remember hearing about the 14th Missouri State Militia, Company H. They came into this cave a few times, and one of the times they were in here, they carved a giant letter H on the rock. You'll actually be able to see it right over here. And then if you look above that and slightly to the right, you'll see those two L's in the middle there. And that is part of the name Q.A. Smallin. And that was Quincy Adam Smallin. His family lived out here and he grew up coming to the cave. And he carved his name on that rock when he was a young man. And he eventually owned this cave later on into adulthood, which is really cool because he kind of staked his claim on it in the beginning. Alright, and then I do have a question for all of you. Actually, okay. How deep would you guess that pool of water to be right there? You can take a step up and whoever gets the closest answer gets bragging rights. What? You said 2 feet? 10. You say that, right? Any guesses? Yeah? 4 feet? Yeah. 5 feet? You said 10 feet? Alright. The closest is 10 feet. It is actually about 8 feet deep, so you were also really close, but you got it a little bit closer. Now it's really hard to tell how deep it is from over here. There's a lot of weird lighting, and it drops off really quickly. So it looks really shallow up the front, and then it just drops off. And it is one of the most dangerous spots in this cave, so please don't fall in.
You ever swim in it?
No, please don't.
Do you ever want to swim in it?
No. But the most dangerous part of that pool is this rock right here. Well, that is a brimstone dam, and it is 14 feet tall. It's very steep, very slippery. 8 feet are below the surface in that pool, and we see 6 feet right above. And if you were trying to get through this cave, through that pool of water, if you wanted to try to swim it, you would have to climb over that massive, very steep, slippery rock, and it would probably not go very well for you. Now the Osage were here, and they knew not to go through that pool because they also saw the water and there were some pretty crazy things like turning into a whirlpool. So they decided to build a ladder to help them get through this cave safely. And it is still here, right on this side. You can see these notches going all the way up the side of that rock. And they use that as a ladder to get through this cave safely. And everyone since then has been able to use that until now, because in the 60s, Joseph Bolger showed up and he built this really nice, safe concrete walkway. And now we're not allowed to use that ladder anymore, so you have to go this way. Oh, look at that. Do any of you want to see a bat really quick? Alright, you'll need to stand all the way onto the edge of the platform here, as close to this railing as you possibly can. And I will also warn you, these bats look like shadows, so they can be kind of hard to stick on. But he's going to be right up here. fact that you will not have any hard time seeing there the very opposite. And we're gonna head this way and see what else we can find here.
The water is 8 feet deep. You remember the difference between a stalactite and a stalagmite. But in case any of you have forgotten, if these four would like to remind you their number. No? Do you remember? Any of you? Okay, there's a really easy rhyme that my dad taught me when I was like that. So it's stalactites hang tight to the ceiling. Stalagmites might grow up and touch the ceiling. Now, these are usually very common in caves. It's what most people think of as far as cave structures. Unfortunately, the way that this cave is formed, we don't have too many stalagmites, especially. We do have a few stalactites up here, but most of them are still really young. We have these little baby soda straws hanging out right up here. We've got a few more up here. What? But if you look down below, you won't see any stalagmites, you'll just see water. Now all this water will wash away that calcite that falls from the ceiling to create more stalagmites. So it's really hard for this cave to grow any. However, in 1960, Joseph Boulder bought this place, and he put in the concrete walkway that you're standing on right now. And since then, we've started growing stalagmites. So if you'll take a look below your feet, you'll find these little guys. You're welcome to step on these. Don't worry about like destroying them or anything. They will become a tripping hazard if you don't step on them regularly. So it's really fun now. You get to come feel what they're like. So there's some more back here by you guys. We've got a ton right behind you, right through here. And there are also some that grow on the handrail. They keep painting over it, but I wish they would not. Poor little buddy right here is having a hard time growing. Alright, and then there are two bats right here that have been hanging out with us the entire time, and none of you knew it. I'm not going to shine my light directly on them because we are way too close. But there's one right down here. You can see To the left.
that little dark spot. Just hanging out in the middle. And then, oh my gosh. Scared me. Okay, and then if you look right over here, you'll see another little teeny tiny baby one. Now these ones are really cool to see in here, especially just close up. It's pretty nice. And we've got one more further back. line, that's sound. Usually it's really hard to see those during this time of year because they like really warm and wet environments, and it's kind of cold, and it's yeah, there's so much in this one spot. This is awesome. Okay, really quick so that these guys can stop looking at. We do have another bat right here. This one is really close. Please do not touch it. You know it's right there. Oh, you're gonna just show it. Oh yeah. And then if you look down here, you'll see a bristly cave crayfish, otherwise known as a blind cave crayfish. It's that little white guy moving along down here. Now these guys are an almost endangered species of crayfish. We don't have very many of them left, but this cave does have one of the largest populations that we know of, with roughly 120. They're completely white, completely blind, and that is because of the dark conditions that they've lived in for such a long time. And hopefully we'll be able to see a few more of them. That's a pretty good size. Alright, and again, our little rat friend. Oh, and one more thing really quick. As we head through this spot right here, please make sure you watch your noggin on the noggin knockers. They're called that for a reason. Please do not give us a demonstration. Also, if you could not shine that flashlight on the back, that would be wonderful.
That is right there, but I don't want to shine a light on it. It'll wake it up, fly away. And sometimes they can get caught in your hair. And because they eat, I was saying because bats eat mosquitoes, they can carry rabies. And they're one of the most notorious animals for carrying rabies. I have caught bats before. I'm not scared, but I would suggest that you leave them alone.
Alright, well once you've headed back to this platform right here, you will have traveled 550 feet from the entrance of the cave. Now this is not even close to where the cave ends. This is just as far back as this walkway can fit. And we do offer a tour where you can go back even further into this cave, and that is called our Wild Tour. You'll go back an additional 850 feet for a total of 1,400 feet from the entrance. So if you are interested in that, let us know in the gift shop. Unfortunately for 4 of you, you do have to be 12 years old to go on that tour, so you guys have to wait. But that is also not where this cave ends. It continues not found at the end. So yeah. Now the further back you go, of course, the more narrow it gets, to the point where after that wild tour ends at that 1,400 foot mark, you're going to be armstrong to a bunch of dead rocks. So it's really not for the faint of heart.
You say you've gone back a mile and a half and you haven't found the end?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's right, yeah. Alright, oh, and I told you to remember that bedding plane at the beginning of the day. You can see it so clearly back here. It's that crack right up at the top. Now, anywhere this crack goes, you will continue to see cave. Anywhere this cave goes, you will see that crack. They're pretty much synonymous. If this crack isn't there, we can't have cave. So it is also kind of on this side of the cave. It's just covered up a little bit by some of this calcite formation. So you can see it in a few spots. And I have another question, but for all of you this time, and there's really only 2 answers to the question, so it should be pretty easy. If I turn the lights off in this cave, do you think you'd be able to see daylight from the entrance back here? Nope. No? Okay, anyone willing to say yes?
Me.
Oh, okay, we got like 3, dang. Alright, well since there's a disagreement, we are going to be testing that. So if you are scared of the dark, please find somebody to hold on to or hang on to the railing. I am going to ask if you can stand as much on the railing, like against the railing as possible. That way we're not stumbling around in the dark. shoving each other over the edge. That would not be good. Also, if you have any glow-in-the-dark shoes, other things, watches, phones, just try to keep those from having too much light. That way we're not ruining the effect of the darkness. Yep. Here we go.
I see light.
Alright, so if you look in the direction that we just came from, do you see that orangish light in the right-hand corner? Yeah. So that is actually a light bulb, so you can just ignore that. But if you look on the left-hand side, right over there where the railing is, you can see that bluish-green glow, and that is actually daylight from the outside. It's not a lot, but it's just enough to reflect off of the water, off the rocks in this cave, and bounce back here to meet our eyes, and give us enough light to know which direction to go to get back out if something happens near our legs. And this is about the furthest back you can go and still see a light. So if you want to turn around and face the opposite direction, this is what your darkness is like.
I'm scared of the dark.
Oh, actually, I'm going to show you one more thing because it looks really cool when the lights are off. You probably won't be able to get it in the camera very well because I've never had anyone be able to actually get a picture of it. So we'll see, but you can see it in person really well. So all of that sparkle up on the ceiling, that is actually water, and it is collected in little drops up on the ceiling. And when light shines off of it, it makes it look like it's crystals or something, but it's just water.
There's gold in them there hills.
There's what?
Gold.
Nope, just limestone and water. Look at, and then we're gonna head back out, and that's what's above our heads. Now currently it's just limestone, rock, nothing too interesting, but that wasn't always the case. There was a lot of water that covered this area of the United States at one point, and there were a lot of creatures swimming around in that. And as they died, they were buried in layers of sand and mud, which hardened into rock, turning all those creatures into fossils. You can see quite a few up here on the ceiling. They've been exposed as the water erodes the ceiling away. There's also a cricket right there. I hate those, they're disgusting. But anyway, where's the good cricket? So that little Cheerio shape right up here, there's another good one right there. Do you see the little disc right there? Yeah. So those are called crinoids. They're actually the Missouri state fossil, and they're animals in the shape of those little discs. They stack on top of each other, creating a stem and then eventually a flower on top. And then they wiggle around at the bottom of the ocean collecting food. And we actually have one of those crinoid flowers still intact on the ceiling right up here. So if I angle the flashlight, you can see it a little bit better. But the stem, if you look at the shadow of my finger, the stem is right about here, and then the flower is right about there. You see it? It kind of looks like a lollipop. Alright, and we're going to continue on out. Or bother the bat too much because we don't want to wake him up. That would not be good for him or for us.
There he is.
Alright, we have another fossil right up here that's really cool to look at. So you take a look right up here, you'll see that little triangle-shaped dark spot. So that's actually a shark tooth. It belonged to a prehistoric shark Here we go. Are we all out from the back before I turn the lights off on you? No, I think my sister was. Alright. If you look right up here, you'll see that squiggly line running through the ceiling. That is the trail of a sea worm. Oh, nothing was chunky.
If that's what you want to call it.
Now, that next to it, that bump, is actually the base of sea coral. And you can see the fans on it right through here. Like the little grooves on it. Not the dots, the grooves. It's in that like the tan spot right up here. Alright, we've got a few more bats up here again, and please make sure we're not bothering them too much. One last fossil right up here to take a look at. Alright, we're going to wait for those two to take a look.
Where y'all from?
Alright, so this last
Florida?
fossil, right above your heads here. You might have to crane your neck a little bit to see it. Look.
Starfish.
That is one of 17 starfish that we found on the ceiling of this cave so far. So this one is the easiest to see because it is the largest and it's conveniently right above our walkway. If any of you were wondering, yes, his name is Patrick. That's what he was like.
What a beautiful place, and the temperature is only about 50 degrees in here. Caves pretty well stay that temperature all year long. That's why I would love to have my house in here. This floor is slippery. I'm running out of storage space on my phone, so that's where the tour ends. It doesn't end, but because I'm running out of storage space, I'm gonna have to shut it off. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Give me a thumbs up, leave me some comments. Come see this place. It is well worth the money to me. May God bless each and every one of you. If you were to type this GPS coordinates into your GPS, it'll take you right here. Again, give me a thumbs up, leave me some comments. May God bless each and every one of you.